Here is our jump math lesson for pages 143 to 145, and it is about measuring again, this time with quarters of an inch, so I thought I would make a real quick lesson on this. Here is our boss question for today. It's just to take a ruler and find something in your house you can measure to the closest quarter of an inch. Can I write on here? Sorry about that. I guess not. There we go. Okay, so you're gonna try to measure something in quarter inches. So try to find something that's not exactly like 12 inches or 10 inches or 8 inches, but is a little more or a little less. And ideally, try something that's not exactly 12 and a half or 1 and a half or 3 and a half, but maybe something that has a quarter in it or a 3/4 in it. See if you can find anything like that to measure. That's your challenge for this time. All right, so the book starts out showing you a number line like this, which of course looks a lot like a ruler, and it will have a marking for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to mark halfway between, and we're going to mark them like this. So we'll have 1 and a half, 2 and a half, 3 and a half, exactly halfway between, which is what we did in our last lesson, is measuring, if these were inches, measuring in half inches. So 1, 1 and a half, 2, 2 and a half, 3, 3 and a half, and so on. And then this lesson we add in quarter inches. So halfway between the 1 and the 1/2, we have 1 and a quarter. And then 1 and a half can actually also be called 1 and 2/4. Either one is really okay. But it's kind of what most people say is 1, 1 and a quarter, 1 and a half, 1 and 3/4, 2, 2 and a quarter, 2 and a half, 2 and 3/4, and we usually count it like that when we are measuring. Okay, so then the book will ask you to fill in what goes between these numbers on a number line. So like, what will this tick mark be labeled? What will this one and this one be? And you already know that's 8. So you will fill it in like so. So you'll say, well, after, this is divided into quarters, so after 7 we'll get 7 and 1/4, 7 and a half, 7 and 3/4, 8, 8 and 1/4, 8 and a half, 8 and 3/4. So there's just a little practice with doing that. And then you'll just do some measuring. So this is my pretend ruler here, but you'll be able to either use what the book drew or a real ruler for this lesson. And say I have a line like this, what would its measurement be? So if you wanted to, you could mark these in, but you wouldn't have to. You know, this is 1 here, 1 and a quarter, 1 and 2/4, 1 and 3/4. So you'd say for this 1 and 3/4 is the length of that line. For this one, you could measure this line with my pretend ruler. It would be, you know, this spot is 4, 4 and 1/4, 4 and a half. So we call this 4 and a half inches. For some of them though, they'll make it a little bit harder. So this line, if we're measuring it, we'd say 3, 3 and 1/4, and it's a little more than 3 and a quarter, but it's a little less than 3 and a half. But if you are measuring it to the nearest quarter inch, you're just going to pick either this one or this one. Which one do you think it's closer to? Now the way I drew this line, I think it looks a little bit closer to 3 1/4. If you think it's exactly halfway, you can always round up and say, oh, it looks like 3 1/2 to me. Otherwise, just use your best judgment from just looking at it. Which line does it look closer to? This one or this one? Now, if it was exactly halfway through and you had eighths on a ruler, then you would measure it in eighths. But your book is not introducing eighths right now, so go ahead and just guess to the nearest 1/4 inch, because it's always a good skill to have to estimate that. All right, and that is your whole Jump Math lesson. Hopefully you can try this activity of measuring some things in your house. And if you can start writing some things on the math document, that'll give me an idea of how far you are and how you're doing, because I would love to help you if you have any questions.